Welcome to our winner's circle. On behalf of Commissioner Vilma Leake, Small Business Consortium, we say welcome. We are so excited that you're here because there is greatness within you. That's right, I'm talking about you. In fact, I want you right now to type in the chat box, where are you watching from? What is exciting for you, right? Because again, what you focus on becomes your reality. There is greatness within you. And these winner circles, every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, we're just pouring into individuals. We're showcasing success. We're sharing information, as well as we are really committed to each one of us growing. And so I would like for you to just type in the chat box right now, where are you watching from? Because again, this is an international broadcast. We've had people from Australia. We've had people from South Africa participate. And so I want you to go ahead and type in the chat box, where are you watching from? You can see I'm excited, right? Because I'm excited. Today's topic, oh my goodness, is really phenomenal. You see, we're going to be talking about basically wellness. I mean, can I just cut to the chase? It's wellness. It's emotional wellness. It's physical wellness. And our two guests are phenomenal. They really are. And you're going to have a great time with them, because one of the things I've realized is that success leaves footprints. It truly does. And so right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, just, there's no judgment. Where are you in your, let's just say, in your wellness? 1 being, kind of real, it's some, depressing times, to 10 being where you're positive, you're excited. Where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Would love to hear from you, because again, it's about being real. And one of the things I think COVID-19 has allowed us all to really, take a look at is, life. A dear friend says, this is the great pause. And I love that from the standpoint that, it allows all of us to, with the stay-at-home orders and whatnot, it has allowed us to take a pause, right? And maybe not be so busy. But at the same time, sometimes by being, more quiet, right? Having more solitude, it can also bring up some emotions. It can bring up some issues. It can bring up some things that maybe you've never thought about. Maybe you've been, suppressing. But we're going to talk about today, how can we grow through challenges? How can we maintain, wellness? Wellness is the topic today. And so I'm very, very, very excited, because again, the two guests that we have are phenomenal. So I want to bring up our first guest, Dr. Latanya Bowman, who is really just a beam of light. Whenever I see her, whenever I talk to her, I'm always encouraged. So let's bring her up. And she is somebody who you really want to connect to. That's her website, Discovery ChiroWellness.com. Please, check it out, right? Discovery Chiropractic and Wellness Center. But www.discoverychirowellness.com. And she's going to be talking about how to stay young, how chiropractic care can help you maintain your body and create a balanced lifestyle. So let's bring her to the stage. How are you doing?
How are you doing?
Doing wonderful. You got that bright smile. I mean, you just wake up with a happy Kool-Aid smile.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I try to stay positive every day.
There you go. There you go. And so, very grateful to have you on. And so I'd like for you just to share with us, who is Dr. Latanya Bowman? Who are you?
Well, I am just a Southern girl. I'm from North Carolina. I'm from Winston-Salem, born and raised. And I have a very strong Christian background. I was lucky and blessed to have parents that have been happily married for 50 years this year. Yeah. So with that, they definitely took a strong hold in me through education. My mother was an educator. My father worked at RJ Reynolds. And so they were just very hardworking people. And they helped me get through college. I went to North Carolina Central University.
Oh, nice.
And then after that, so all my Eagles in the house, I don't know if there's any there yet, but yeah, yeah. But I went to North Carolina Central. I had a degree in athletic training. Oh, wow. And then after that 4-year program, I actually worked at Duke and at Wake Forest. So I worked with Coach K, and I worked with Jim Caldwell. Most of you guys, I think he's in with the Miami Dolphins right now with the NFL deal. But he was both of them were one of my mentors. So after I left and went to chiropractic school in Dallas, Texas, I was there for 4 years, and then I left and then moved to Memphis, Tennessee,
Oh
and
my goodness.
I did my associateship there for 4 years, and
Hmm.
then I came back to North Carolina and was working with another doctor for 6 years in Winston-Salem and decided to go ahead and open up my own. So I've been in practice here for 5 years in Charlotte, North Carolina. And my office is, I've just been blessed. My office is one of the top 20 offices out of 167 offices in the city of
Oh
Charlotte.
goodness.
But I will definitely contribute Charlotte itself for that. As soon as I opened up, I was very well supported.
Hmm.
And the city does a very good job. And of course, your program and the Small Business Consortium is a part of that. It does an extremely good job educating entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And so I contribute the city of Charlotte as a whole for where I'm at and gotten
Wow.
so quickly, so fast.
That's awesome. So let me ask
Yeah.
you, I mean, you mentioned something that really resonates. Number one is relationships. If I've really heard you, I mean, I'm seeing a common thread in your success. Number one, you talked about
Right.
your parents and how, they blessed you, right, with a solid foundation. Number two,
Mm-hmm.
you talked about at Duke, how you had mentors, right?
Yes.
Really
Yes.
were, wonderful because success leaves footprints. We always talk about that on the Winning
Absolutely.
Circle. And then number three, you talked about how when you decided, hey, I'm going to venture out, start my own, right? And
Mm-hmm.
leave the practice, in Winston-Salem, and you've already, one of the top, firms here in Charlotte, but you also
Mm-hmm.
said it's because of the support. So can you
Right.
talk to us? I love to hear you because I want you I want one of the things that we strive to do on these winner circle is really pull out the what you call nuggets of wisdom, right? As
Right.
far as because I believe, Latanya, that if I see somebody that they achieve success, if I can find out, what did they do, then I can
Mm-hmm.
model their success. So as
Right.
far as
Right.
relationships are concerned, how do you develop relationships? This is, as you mentioned, Commissioner Leake, Small Business Consortium. So how do you, develop and enhance those relationships?
Well, one of the key components, I learned this when I was in school,
Okay.
actually. It's about not what you know, but who you know.
Mm,
And with that, that's where it all started from. So when I started in undergrad, one of the things I liked about my university, they had a health career center.
mm,
And with that, they strategically put you in different fields that you were interested in. And so what it did, it basically caused you to get inner
okay.
networks while you were already a freshman, a sophomore, a junior in college. So by the point I got my senior year, that's where I was able to just simply just take off because of the fact of the different people that I had already in my circle.
Sure.
And that was my winner circle, and so you like
You're
that.
good. Okay, you're good,
So,
girl.
but
Motivator,
yes,
motivator.
yeah. So, but basically, it's that's what all started it. So, I always tell people it's even though I wanted to go in the health field, I didn't know
Okay.
what I wanted to be.
Okay.
But I did know I wanted to run my own business, but I didn't know what exactly that looked like, and I didn't know exactly again how was I going to do that and be in the health field at the same time.
Right.
But throughout the times as I was growing, the puzzles were slowly piecing itself together.
Okay.
So when I graduated from chiropractic school, moved to Memphis, came back to North Carolina, that's when my network actually started getting even stronger.
Hmm.
Just because of the fact that by that point, people, and including my schoolmates, my classmates, all of us were grown up. We were adults. A lot of them were doing big things. And even my mentors at that time, I mean, like Jim Caldwell was with the Colts at that time, and then turned around and ended up being the head coach. So I saw all of this. So I saw this moving and shaking going on while I was going through school.
Mm.
And so, by the time I got out, I was having these good networks. I mean,
Okay.
huge networks.
Wow.
And some of the people that I even went to school with, or when I was a trainer, now they are sports agents with some
Okay.
very well-known athletes that I can't name, but I
Right.
see them on the weekends. But it's just because of that trust that we built during the time when we were growing
Yes.
from
Yeah.
something.
And
And mhm,
no, I was just going to say,
yes,
I mean, you really, you're triggering some things, and I think for our viewers, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I
right,
think, Dr. Latanya, one of the things that I'm impressed with is that you built these relationships when you were a student, right?
right.
And now you're very successful, right? But you haven't forgot where you come from. And what I'm
Mhm.
saying is, I
Right.
think that's one of the things that, for our viewers, we always, strive to give them those nuggets of wisdom. So again, you want to do unto others as you'd have them do unto you, right?
Right.
And for our
Absolutely.
right, because I mean, now those relationships, right, they knew you when you were just struggling student, right, oodles and
Mhm.
noodles, right, and
Mhm.
now boom, but the foundation. And so I think with business success, because and one thing you said was, you weren't really sure what in the health field, you weren't really sure what type of business ownership, but how did you land on, you're so passionate about chiropractic, and the health and how did you land that? How did you realize, wow, that's my due north? That's where I want to
Okay.
focus.
Yeah, well, for me, it was by accident. I didn't know what chiropractic was. I didn't even know it existed. And
Okay.
I'm just gonna keep it real with you. So I was working at Wake Forest, and when you're in sports medicine, a lot of people don't realize, but you have about 9 or 10 practitioners come around all at the same time. So you'll have your medical doctors, the doctors of osteopathy, the podiatrists, the chiropractors, the neurologists, all of them be in the same room
Wow.
every Wednesdays and Sundays evenings after the game. So that was just the norm. So you were getting to see the surgeries, you were seeing the rehabs, you were seeing everything.
Okay.
And so basically for me, I noticed for me as the chiropractor, he was actually getting my athletes. I was dealing with the offensive teams at that time. So I was dealing with the running backs and all that good stuff. And he was actually getting my guys back on the field a lot quicker than
Mm.
everybody else. So I couldn't figure out, like, what the heck are you doing, man? And so he would just adjust them, doop, 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 and he'll tell me what to do. And next thing you know, they're back to normal. And
Wow.
so that's what made me realize, I was like, well, maybe this is what I needed to do. And also what made me choose that field was that he was like the only physician in that whole pack that seemed the most happiest.
Oh.
And so, every time he would come in that training room, he'll be smiling and whistling and, hey guys, how you doing? And everybody else would be, stressed.
Right, right.
And so that was another thing. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, this man works for himself. He's not stressed out
Yeah.
and he seems happy. And so that's what made me go into it. But here's the
Okay.
catcher behind this. Do
Yeah.
you know, probably about 5 or 6 years later, after I had started chiropractic school, he had passed away from prostate cancer.
Wow. Wow.
So he had prostate cancer throughout the whole entire time.
Whoa.
And he was like the happiest person
There you go.
there. So that just that teaches you something.
Yeah, yeah. And and so thank you so much. I mean, you could never even tell, right, that he was,
Mhm.
having this, but he chose, right? Your attitude, really
Mhm.
is so powerful, right? And so,
Right.
with the pandemic, I want to talk to you about this, because, a lot of people are feeling stress. A lot of people's worlds have been turned upside down. Okay. Some of
Right.
them are on, business. Some have lost their jobs. I think it's over 38 million people have filed for unemployment now. So,
Right.
what advice? I mean, this is great lead in. I didn't know about, this particular, chiropractic doctor who, had prostate cancer, but yet chose to be positive. So what advice, what suggestions, what insights can you share with our viewers right now?
Well, one of the things I would definitely say is that it was just like this morning. I was uptown And so when I was uptown, you know how you're on the elevator and you start talking to the person that's in the elevator with you.
Right.
And I was like, well, how's your day going? He was just telling me, yeah, it was going great. He's like, I was like, well, how's work going? He said, believe it or not, it's going fantastic. You know, I'm the owner of a car dealership and we're getting the most car sales and da 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 da. I was like, that is awesome. But you talk to somebody around the corner and their situation is totally different.
Sure.
And so we have to come to understanding that everybody's situation through this pandemic is not going to be the same.
Yes.
And we have to be empathetic
right.
about everybody's situation, because some people are out of jobs.
Right.
The pension is gone. They are sitting at home trying to figure out what to do, file for unemployment, and the money still hadn't came in from North Carolina yet.
Right.
And they not even paying their mortgages. And believe it or not, they're saying that more people are on forbearance for mortgages this year than it was in 2008 when they had the foreclosures. And they stopped it because of the fact they stopped keep from having foreclosures this time around because they allow people to put themselves on forbearances.
Yep.
And statistically, they're saying that in August or September, when these forbearances end, that's when you're going to start seeing the market crash. That's what they're saying.
Okay.
So, and ironically, that's during the time when they said the virus peak will happen again.
Wow.
And so it's going to be interesting to see. So you have to be prepared regardless of which direction this may go.
Sure.
Yeah. So economically, I would say you got to be in peace with yourself first and just understand that it is what it is.
Yeah.
And just you have to come to an acceptance of it first.
Right.
And then after you do that, then you figure out a way of how to de-stress yourself.
Okay.
Like one of the things that I started doing in the mornings, I started listening to self-meditation apps on my phone, especially if I drive on my way to work, because with what I do, believe it or not, we had to stay open throughout this whole pandemic because the governor asked for all physicians, and we are considered primary care physicians, chiropractors are PCPs, to stay open to offset the hospitals. And believe it or not, I got busy. I got really busy.
Right.
And with that, it becomes stressful. And so, just because you're busy doesn't mean your money coming in quick.
Right. Keep it real, right? Keep it real,
but, yeah. So, but it's just, there were times when I had anxiety. I'm wearing a mask almost 8 or 9 hours out the day.
Right.
And so I had to realize it's like, okay, well, let me cut my hours back and figure out a way of how to do this so I can maintain my own sanity.
Right.
So I saw some of these offices were cutting their hours back. I talked to other physicians and they were working maybe 2 or 3 times a week. So I said, I'm going to do the same thing too. And so you have to figure out a way of how to keep your own sanity. Right. So I started doing 2.5 days a week. And with that, it helped me create a balance for myself.
There you go.
And my patients were okay with that. They were working it out too. So,
Right.
So yeah. So I probably keep it like that throughout the whole summer.
Wow.
Again,
No, I was just going to say thank you. I mean, because that's real talk. I mean, I was writing notes as you were talking, right? Because again, we're sharing insights, and when things really trigger, it's like, my goodness. And so one of the things I wrote down, you said, be at peace, right?
Yes.
And so you're doing some things with the self meditation in the morning, right? You got a routine. So I think that's one of the things that we want our viewers to understand. Having your routine. What is your thing? For me, my mom inspired me, LaTanya. She goes for a walk, every morning, right? And now I've started going for a walk. I'm like, okay, Mom, you ain't gonna outdo me, okay?
Yeah,
but she inspired me, right? And then even my son, he's peeking in right now.
I'm going walks too.
Yeah, he goes on walks too,
Hey.
right?
He has to do 3 today because I did 2
That's
yesterday,
right.
and he only did 1.
Nice.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. So, this is real time. This is real TV, right?
Right. I love it.
And so, but my point is that you said acceptance, right?
Mhm.
Accepting, is really powerful. And then looking at just how do you de-stress? I love the fact that you could have been like, no, I've got 5 days a week and I've got to do it. But no, you can say, you know what, man, I'm getting anxious. And so I want to applaud you and celebrate you because listen, for our viewers, realize this, you can't give what you don't have. Right.
That's right.
And so if you're falling apart, man, you're not going to be really a blessing for somebody else. But so I want to say this, Latanya, definitely, would you be so kind to come back? We're going to, do a little Q&A with our viewers.
Yes.
Yeah, because this has been really great. And, one of the things that I just wrote down as you were talking that came to me, and it's this, it says, Lord, give me the courage to change the things I can. Give me the peace, right? To accept the things I can't change. And give me the wisdom to know the difference. And so I just, as you shared that, I just wanted to, just kind of, I'm paraphrasing, right? But I just wrote it down because it just, for our viewers, the courage to change the things I can, the peace to, accept things I can't change, and the wisdom to know the difference.
That's
and
right.
As Dr. Latanya said, okay, August, September, they're projecting this, projecting that, but we don't know. The future's in the future. What we have is right here and right now. And so thank you, sister. So we're going to bring you back up.
You're welcome.
And, this has been great.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome. And so what you just saw, ladies and gentlemen, is you saw the passion of an entrepreneur. And I think in that, I hope that you're distilling. You can type in the chat box, what did you receive from that? I know we got an eagle on here. Shamika's on here, and that's great. But what did you receive? Go ahead and type in the chat box. Was there any insights? Was there any, revelations or thoughts that, you are taking away? And as you're typing that in the chat box, we're going to bring up our next special guest. And, this young lady is also very, very passionate, Dr. Gigi Hamilton. And what I love about her, she's of the, personal enrichment counseling and consulting service. And her website is www.personallyenriched.com. And what's so beautiful, she's gonna be talking about practical coping skills for small businesses during COVID-19 and beyond, right? And so ready, because what we're talking about is that whole thing of you can't give what you don't have. And so I want to bring Dr. Gigi up on the screen right now and welcome her to the show. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm well. How's it going?
Doing excellent. Thank you. So you can see Dr. Latanya and y'all are like a dynamic duo.
Absolutely. Yeah, she had some great points. And I loved when she talked about her own anxiety. Very often we don't own our stuff. Sometimes we don't even know what it is, right? And so I really appreciated her transparency because we need to normalize how we feel.
That's so real. Because, talk to us, Dr. Gigi. I mean, emotions, right? I mean, we feel emotions, we feel pain, we feel anger, we feel excitement, we feel joy, right? And, but isn't it true sometimes if you, are not dealing with some of those negative emotions, you may try to suppress them, right? Or maybe, I don't know, self-medicate, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So talk to us about, I love your title, how to deal with, this COVID-19 for small business owners. Please share, what suggestions, insights. I know you have a very successful company, practice, and I'd love to hear some of your insights.
Sure. Well, let's start by talking about, because you talked about the emotions. What we typically have a tendency to do are displaying the emotions that are socially acceptable for the world. We can deal with happiness and anger, right? There are so many different ways we can say that we're mad out loud to the world. I'm mad, I'm upset. But what happens is anger itself is really just the cover-up emotion. So if we're only sitting in our anger, we're really not dealing with how we truly feel. And so what we have to do is have an understanding of what, maybe it's hurt, maybe you're ashamed, maybe you're feeling let down. And so when you acknowledge what the true emotion is, then you can actually get the work done so that you can feel better.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. And and your practice. I mean, you and I had a conversation. I think it was last week, and you were just sharing how Marlon. For some people, they don't really maybe have those relationships. That's one thing we heard with Dr. Latanya. And so how important are relationships? How important is it to be able to share?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I often say is for my company, Personal Enrichment Counseling and Consulting, is we're all things relationships, whether that's on the business end, whether you're coming in for therapy for your own relationship with yourself, or even as couples. So Latanya is a native North Carolina. Dr. Latanya is a native North Carolinian, and I have been here now for 20 years.
Okay.
And I started in North Carolina at Fort Bragg. That was my last duty station. So I was an Army veteran, and I was a therapist in the Army. So when I moved to Charlotte in 2002, and I didn't know a soul but my family, my nuclear family that I came to Charlotte with.
Right.
And I worked in agency mental health, and I went back and forth because mental health, as anyone knows in mental health, it changes almost every 3 years. So moved around from job to job, but eventually I've been in my private practice now for about 13 years.
Okay.
And I knew that if I was going to actually have a successful private therapy practice, I had to get out of the little bubble that I knew. And I had to learn how to network. And you and I were talking about being an extrovert and an introvert, or even being an ambivert, right? So just the different personality types. And I'm an extrovert if you know me, as you see me socially, but I recharge by being an introvert.
Yes.
So introverts will probably have a difficult time going out to network as it relates to trying to get to know people, especially if you're trying to start a business. Okay. The first time I went to a networking event, I left. I didn't know anybody in there, and I just walked out. And it took me another year before I went back out there. And for people who know me would be surprised by that story because I'm everywhere, right? I know everyone. I don't know a stranger.
Right.
But that was a learned task that I had to learn how to do.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. And I think one of the things that's so interesting is that you talk about the introvert, extrovert, right? Mm-hmm. And the combination as well. But one of the things that with your practice, I mean, talk to us. You said you've been in practice 13 years. And as far as your success, I mean, you are very busy. I know even us trying to have a phone conversation. You're like, okay, in 14 days we can get we have a conversation. I'm like, wait a minute, who are you? What is going on? So,
right.
So you've been very successful. So what do you attribute to your success, your business success? Are there, maybe give me 3, insights? I would love to hear from you.
Oh, wow. I'm actually glad you asked that, because when you talk about successful companies, what you don't often hear people discuss are the small failures that happen. Okay. Over that period of 13 years, I've done really well. But there's also been a period of time where I was in tears because I had to make a decision as to whether or not I was going to go and try to get a 9-to-5. Okay. And actually applied and cried because I knew that wasn't what I wanted to do. And I remember, talk about having faith. I remember when it was so difficult financially, and I still was providing the service. It was just, I just finished my PhD actually. So I was in transition. Wow. And all I could do was, the only tool I had was to get up and show up. Right. And that's what God gave me. The faith was there, but all I had was, the only tool was to get up and show up, and gave to others as a therapist. Right. Because that was where I knew my passion was and what I could do well. And I just had to let the rest take care of itself. The other thing about relationships in that moment, because most small businesses start out and they're struggling and you're trying to get to know people. There's a fine line between trying to get to know people and trying to ask for something from people. Even when it was really difficult, I had to make sure I wanted to let them know that I was trying to develop a relationship.
Okay.
Even if I'm like, I really need some business, right? Right. I really need some business, but no, let's go out to lunch. And very often I would have people say, well, what can I do for you? And my response was always, nothing. You can't do anything for me. Let's get to know each other and let that manifest organically.
Okay.
And when I
Even,
tell you,
even when you needed it, the money,
even when I
you
needed it,
the business,
yeah.
what was that? Because most people be like, oh, I need, and they, they just
Okay,
start running off the mouth. How did
right.
you?
That's a good question. Because when I was in the networking arena doing it all the time, I could tell when someone else needed that. When they gave me their card and they keep calling you and they're trying to get your business, and it's a turnoff, right? And so I made it a point to not want to be that. Now, I'm also really, really a huge advocate of the power of who, which is the who you know.
Right.
And what that means is you can let your friends in your circle know what you need,
Mm-hmm.
because then they'll start working for you.
Okay,
Right?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you tell them, hey, if you know anyone who's looking for this service, let me know, or I'm looking for a job. I do it. I'm automatically, well, I know this person, let me make
Right.
this connection.
Yeah.
And so, but that's a different animal than going out, passing out a business card, and
Sure.
then saying, hey, can you give me some business? Right?
Right. It's a
It's
different
very
energy. It's a
transactional.
different
Yeah.
energy. Yeah. And
Yeah.
again, as you heard me say, even with Dr. Latanya, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Right.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I know she said, yeah, I'm trying to think how she said it, but I know sometimes we hear this thing, your net worth. No, it's not what you know, but who you know. But I
Yeah.
would go deeper. It's who knows you.
That's true. That's true.
Okay.
And people watch. People are watching all the time. When I literally think it took about at least a good solid 3 years before I started to see my networking pay off.
Oh, wow.
It
Really?
wasn't automatic, I
Yeah.
mean, maybe automatic here or there, but over a period of time when you have consistent, solid relationships,
Yep.
and like you said, it's people calling you saying, hey, I need this from you, right? That transactional portion where you're always taking it's not going to work in Charlotte.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And thank
Yeah.
you. And I see Alicia Brooks, she's a
Yeah.
phenomenal brand strategist. She said
Mhm.
that is a true turnoff.
Yeah.
Your brand will come off as thirsty,
That's
be
right.
authentic, right? I mean, because think about it. I mean, people, when you come from abundance, and something that you said, I would you like for you to unpack this a little bit as well, Gigi, is you talked about, your faith and you showing up, even when, you had tears, thought about, applying for a job, and, your faith, and you showed up, right? I mean, I like to say, luck is when preparation meets opportunity, right? And so we just
Absolutely.
gotta
Yeah.
stay in the game. It ain't over
Yeah.
until you give up. And so I love what you're
Yeah.
sharing. So with that, tell me this, how important, especially as you're helping people, we're talking about mental, emotional, physical wellness, the
Yes.
spiritual essence of it. I mean, how important is that, being able to tap into that foundation?
Well, that's a great question, especially in light of COVID, right?
Yes.
Because this is something you can't see, feel, or touch. And there's no definitive recipe as to who this is going to take out.
Wow.
Right. And
Right.
so if you don't have something where you can't see, feel, or touch yourself as it relates to faith to know that you're going to be okay, then you're just kind of out there without a safety net.
That's good. That's good. Got it. And what do you share? We heard, Dr. Latanya talk about some of her practices. Do you have anything that you do on a daily routine to stay, stay grounded, stay, I mean, you're very, uplifting and real, but what do you do on a daily basis?
Your circle of support is huge. I am
Okay.
so blessed that I have a tribe that I am, because people often ask me, well, who takes care of you? Right. And I'm blessed. I have that type of circle. Pre-COVID, I love to ride my bike, in the park. And yeah, I do. But I have not been riding my bike because of COVID. And I know all of my friends are out there riding their bikes. I'm like, come on out. But I am not trying to catch this thing because as a small business owner, I can't even afford the 2 or 3 weeks that it would take to recover from being sick. And I know that, right? Because let's say you survive it, so I'm being extra cautious because I'm a business owner. I mean, my whole, my family relies on me. So I have to do this. And it's a business decision for me, ultimately.
Okay. There you go.
So I have to do things differently. Now I do have a gym in my home. So, but it took me a while to get back in there working out. And it's like several feet from my office, right?
Right.
And so, so I started working out again. But in the meantime, and it was because I'm seeing so many clients, right? I'm seeing so many clients during this COVID thing. And it's a blessing because I know a lot of businesses are struggling.
Sure.
But people need that emotional support and that help. There are so many things that we don't have control of right now. And when we get caught in that spiral, it's easy to start to have anxiety and intense stress and not know what to do with that and how to manage it. So I had to change my stress relieving plans. So one of the things that I did, I got really creative. And I thought back to when I was working with my 16-year-old. Last year, he had a project due and I had to color with him on this project for school. And I was like, that was really relaxing. So I actually bought an adult coloring book.
Okay.
With these gel crayons. And when I tell you, I pretty much do it after every, like my last therapy session.
Yeah.
It's like the thing that, because most business owners don't shut it down. Like I'm working all the time, but it is like my code in my brain to release everything for the day.
Okay.
And it's just something with these gel crayons that just takes that away. And then I can go on to my evening as a family person, you know what I mean? And I'm not constantly working. So that's been really innovative and different for me. Surprising. Nobody could have ever told me 6 weeks ago I would have been coloring.
Right.
Right.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's just tapping into whatever your thing is. And so in the chat box, I like for our viewers, we heard it from Dr. Latanya. We're now hearing from Dr. Gigi.
Yeah.
What are your strategies? Here's my question. Please type in the chat box. What are you doing to take care of you? Right.
Yeah.
I talked about, I go for a walk, just being outside. Right. And I see the little birds and, and I do my, I recite scriptures.
Yeah.
So that's my thing. You heard Dr. Latanya talk about, her meditation tapes in the morning. And now, Dr. Gigi's talked about a coloring book, and
adult coloring book.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Right. Hey, now, okay, don't get it twisted.
Right. They have some cool ones though. Yeah.
Right. They got some cool ones. Okay, cool. Type in the chat box. What are you doing? Again, this is a winner circle. We're all in this together. And, LaPronda said, I love Dr. Gigi, Dolores, Hamilton, my favorite therapist. Hey,
LaPronda.
There you go. That's again, when your work, when you do things with excellence, basically opportunities will come to you. I'm a firm believer, right? And I love that. Thank you, Danielle. Walk and pray, right? Because then, you're walking, you're exercising, you're getting the oxygen, right? And then also the spiritual, praying, the mental, the emotional. So thank you for that. Anybody else, please type in the chat box. And I love what Reginald said. He said, to get what you want out of life, we have to help others get what they want. Right. And so that's real talk, right? When you focus on being a blessing to others, isn't it true? You receive so much more in return, right?
Yeah. Especially as a business owner right now, for those who are struggling, if you can move outside of yourself and give to others, it is so much more rewarding. And so I highly recommend that people think about it. And it doesn't have to be monetary, right? Sometimes people just need a listening ear. Right. So there's so many ways you can be of help to others and people need it.
Wow. Thank you so much. That's really powerful. And I think that, as look, Karen just said, meditate, pray, yoga, listen to jazz. Yeah. Music, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, for all of us, I don't know if you grew up, R&B, right? My dad used to play, he's from Detroit. So, I remember going down in the basement. He played Temptations. I can hear one of the Temptation songs right now, and I just flash back. And so I think music is something that I want to encourage people to really consider. And Charles Zetta said, I'm beginning my day in prayer, studying my word and writing in my journal. Ooh, we got to talk about that. I follow with exercise. I get to encourage my husband daily and my family, and I get moving also. So what about writing? And then we'll bring up Dr. Latanya, but what do you, Dr. Gigi, as far as writing in your journal, I really believe that's a great way to release. What have any studies or anything that you
yeah, absolutely. I have a lot of my clients journal because there's just something that clinically with the paper to the pen that it's a release.
Yes.
Right. One of the things I wanted to mention though, the research has shown that over 92% of small business owners have been negatively impacted by this COVID experience. And so my question is, what are people doing emotionally to be okay?
Mm,
Right? Because if you're negatively being impacted, that probably means financial. That probably means for your staff, you're worried about their livelihood as well as your own. And that's a lot of a burden to carry. And what typically happens is small business owners don't have the luxury of calling a friend when they're really struggling. They kind of keep that information to themselves. So
yeah.
it's just important that they have an outlet too. And that's, oh, I forgot to mention too, May is Mental Health Awareness Month as well as Small Business Month.
Okay.
And I thought this was such a great time for us to combine the two conversations because they should go in conjunction with each other. They need to be hand in hand. If you're thinking about being a small business owner, we work out, we think about our financial health. We also have to really take our emotional health seriously.
Wow, thank you so much. Really, I really
Mhm.
appreciate that. And we're going to bring Dr. Latanya back on, but I see
Mhm.
James Byrne. He says, I run and meditate. Now, my question is, are you running and meditating at the same time, brother? Talk to me, man. James is a good friend of mine. That's my
Yeah.
brother. And Robin says she exercises. She listens to her favorite songs. Come on, Robin. That is so real. Affirmation videos. Yup. While in bed before I sleep. Ooh, it's good. Reading and Zoom calls with friends, right? And so what I'm seeing, ladies, I'm seeing there's like a commonality, right? Relationships, right? I mean, number one, it's a blessing, for your business, right? Number two, it's a blessing for you. And so I want to encourage all of our business owners, please. And I think Dr. Gigi really said it. Sometimes, we go within a shell and and sometimes we have to, be so strong and whatnot. I mean, I'm part of a few different prayer calls, throughout the week. And so I get rejuvenated. I'm able to take off the mask. I'm able to be real, right? Brothers, we cry together. We laugh, we celebrate, but just because I want to say this, disease is not always what you're eating. It's also what's eating you, right? And so,
Right.
ladies, talk to me about, for the viewers, what advice, what insights? I mean, I want you each to have some time just to, really speak some words of encouragement from your perspective. And I do want you to also share your, how they can get in touch with you. We'll put it up on the screen, but I want them to hear from you as far as, what, I don't know if it's 2, 3 nuggets of wisdom do you have, for our viewers. And as you're thinking about that, I do want to ask you this question. Latanya, when it's all said and done and you're 95 years young and you look back on your life, what's going to make you smile?
It's a very good one. For me, it's leaving a legacy. Leaving something behind that somebody can carry on behind me. So if it's my children or if it's for other young women business owners, is leaving something behind so that way they can continue working on what I've been trying to begin.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's powerful. I know, and you see, I want all of our viewers to know, this is unscripted, right? I mean, I know I'm catching them off guard. They're like, what? Where did that come from? That wasn't in the, but I like to, just really, because legacy, you see, ladies and gentlemen, it's about what's pulling you forward, right? And Dr. Latanya, she had no idea I was going to ask that question. But when you have a big enough why, come on, somebody. When you have a big enough why, the how, it will manifest. And what she just shared, my legacy, I want to be able to look back and say, my life mattered, while I was here on this earth, and it goes by fast, right? I mean, I remember when I was 16, when I went to get my driver's license, I cannot believe it was 30 some years ago. Are you with me? I cannot believe that. Where did time go? But so the reason I asked that question is because when you have a big enough why, that can pull you into the future, right? And you have a compelling why. So thank you. And so, Dr. Gigi, what about you? When you're 95 years young and you look back on your life, what's going to make you smile?
And I have to agree with Dr. Latanya as it relates to legacy. And I think historically, legacy, we're fortunate that some people have legacy as African Americans, but we're still trying to create legacy, especially as it relates to generational wealth. And I'm first generation graduate from college. And so that's a heavy burden sometimes to carry to create that legacy. So for me, what I want to do is once to impact lives.
Okay.
You know, I wish I could have everyone in the room that can say she had an impact, a positive impact on my life, right?
Yes.
I would love that, but I don't care of the volume. I just want to know that anyone that's been in my life, I've had a positive impact in their world. The other thing is generational wealth. And I want to be able to look back and know that my family is okay at 95, that all the generations are going to be taken care of. We have a tendency, when we talk about a wealth of other cultures, they have a tendency to move their money forward.
Ooh.
Well, for us, historically, we have a tendency to take our money and give it back because our families need it. And so it's difficult for us to really gain generational wealth if we're doing both. We're trying to do both.
Wow.
So we have to be able to figure out how to manage that.
Thank you so much. I mean, again, man, I'm inspired. Y'all motivating the motivator, okay? I mean, to have y'all on. I'm gonna call y'all every day. Okay, Dr. Latanya, Dr. Gigi, I need some motivation. Talk to me.
Yes.
But you know, and for our viewers, you know, please go ahead and type in the chat box when you're 95 years young and you look back on your life. You know, what's going to make you smile, right? And I see James Burns, he said, I'm writing my first book, and this is more of a release. This book is my mental health, my own mental health counselor, right? And then he also said, you know, wow, great question. He just said, I want, when people meet my children, I want them to say, wow, you know, I'm not surprised that you're a great person with a big heart because I knew your dad, right? So again, paying it forward. So again, for our viewers, if you want to type in your chat box, you know, we love to see, you know, what's going to make you smile when you're 95 years young. And so with that, you know, as the people are typing, I would love to, you know, as we're about to wrap up and you know, give our closing statements, you know, Dr. Latanya, as far as, you know, any words of wisdom, I mean, you know, you have, you know, achieved major success. I mean, you're a very successful business owner, you're, you know, community leader, you know, you're a friend to so many. Your clients love you, right? Your team, right, at the workplace love you. You know, as far as, you know, what can you share, you know, with our viewers, you know, as far as any insights that you have? I just wanted to give you, you know, some opportunity to, you know, share that with our viewers.
Well, I was something that Dr. Gigi said earlier that caught my attention, and she was talking about you never know who's watching. And that is the thing that I want to bring to attention, because like even with Dr. Gigi and I, her and I had connected months ago, and it was affiliated with the fact that with the COVID-19, she was actually helping me getting medical supplies. And so it was just irony that she was on the platform with me. So it was this divine order. Now I always say things happen for a reason. And you know, you don't ever know who's watching. You always got to stay on point all the time. And Marlon, even you remember when I was telling you, like even when I got invited to the White House in February.
Yes.
And even to this day, I don't even know how I got invited up there. Wow. But someone was watching me.
Come on.
And I remember when I was there and I was sitting beside these gentlemen, I was beside, you know, ambassadors and multi-millionaire, billionaire professional business owners. And I sat there and I was like, why am I here? And the gentleman beside of me, he said, because you're supposed to be here.
Wow.
And he was like, you're supposed to be here because they saw something and we see something in you. So it made me realize that people watch you all the time and you don't ever know it. So you always want to make sure that you are on point. Yeah, you are your own platform. You are your own, you are a representation of your business everywhere you go. You are your business. So you have to make sure you stay on point.
Wow, thank you so much. I mean, that's really powerful. And you know, you never know who's watching. I mean, that's real talk. And I think that, you know, people are watching. I mean, that's the real deal. And, I think there's one thing that I've learned in just, I've been a business owner for 28 years now. And one of the things I've learned is there's, when you're on stage, there's, some people are a certain way, but behind closed doors, they're a different way. And what I strive to do is just be congruent. Who I am on stage is who I am behind closed doors. And because like you said, you never know who's watching. And people are really, let's just be honest, there's a lot of somewhat negativity in our world. And so sometimes people don't even, when they, when you meet somebody who's real nice or happy, you're like, okay, what's their angle, right? We're almost like slanted in a way. So, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And Dr. Gigi, what about you? What any final thoughts that you have?
Yeah, a couple of things. First, I just want to encourage everyone to make sure that they are checking in with, what's going on with them emotionally, because in light of COVID, it's just been a roller coaster for everyone. And no one's exempt from having moments where this is just too much. And you just need to know who you can talk with to address that. So they're going to put in the chat box, if you don't have the accessibility to see a mental health therapist, I'm giving you a number to a crisis text line. So you can text someone 24/7. This is not my line, but I want you to have access to someone that you can talk to and just say, hey, I'm stressed out and I don't even know what to do with this. Right? We all need that. And maybe texting is the perfect way to have that conversation. So I want you to have that. The other thing, thank you. The other thing I wanted to offer to you all, I can't tell you how many business development trainings I've been to, but one in particular had talked about making sure you have a bail team. And a bail team is, the B is for having a banker, A is for an accountant, I is for making sure you have someone that you have your insurance with, and L is to have a lawyer. And it doesn't mean to have these people just where you can pick up the phone. You need to have personal relationships with them. And the reason this is important, COVID is a perfect example. People really struggle, specifically African Americans struggled with being able to get access to the federal funding that was out there because they didn't have direct contact to their banker. I have lunch with my banker on a regular, well, not regular, but at least twice a year so that they know what's going on. It's important for you to have relationships with these particular people. So in situations of emergency, it's not just about you calling to need something. They know who you are. They know what your service is, and they know the quality of your work. So that's just really important. It's more important now than ever because of what's happening right now.
Thank you so much. Powerful words of wisdom. And our chat line is just, it's just blowing up. So I want to just do a recap. And again, this has been such a phenomenal program. And Jerlandra said, your why will carry you through everything you do or come up against. Your why is more than about you. People need you. What you do or have to say. Powerful. Thank you, Jerlanda. And Reginald said, great question. I feel I would love to see that each generation after me was able to do a little bit more and struggle a little bit less. Amazing. Thank you, brother. Charlesetta said, knowing that I encourage many children and families to be lifelong movers, people who treat their bodies as God's temple. Amazing. Thank you. And Alicia said, yes, people are always watching. You are your personal brand. Okay. And so that's really powerful. And so I really want to say thank you to everybody. And for Dr. Gigi and Dr. Latanya, please stay on. When we do conclude, I would like to just give you a big thank you after we conclude the show. So please stay on. But in closing, I'd like to say to each one of you, what you've heard today is insights, strategies, inspiration that makes a difference. And what I would like to encourage each one of you to do is to pay it forward. What you've heard, they say, when you give to someone else, you receive so much more in return. And so our whole winner circle on behalf of Commissioner Vilma Leake, Small Business Consortium, the reason why we're doing this every Wednesday, 1 o'clock. Yes, it's an investment of time. It's an investment of, we're not getting paid for this, but we want to be a blessing. Are you with me? And so I wanted to just really encourage each and every one of you to take what you've learned today I mean, I've been taking notes, and for me, you know, this is just knowing that I'm not alone. I think that's really very key. There's other positive individuals out here. And, you know, we've posted in the chat box, you know, how you can follow up with Dr. Gigi, how you can follow up with Dr. Latanya, you know, you can, you know, their websites, their emails, their phone numbers. Please follow up with these ladies, because these ladies are walking the talk. You can feel their energy, you can feel their passion for making a positive difference. And I'm just very grateful. And so I see we just got a few more. I'd like to always recognize people, and you know, this has been really a phenomenal experience. And you know, Latanya Blackman said, I have all of the bail except for, let's see, I got a banker. Okay, so you got to get her banker going on. Okay, I keep a debt-free business. How do you recommend creating a relationship with a banker? Okay, and so yeah, I like to, you know, that we'll close out with this. Dr. Latanya, Dr. Gigi, let's come back on with your banker. You know, just, you know, 30 seconds. What do you suggest, you know, for the question?
Well, Latanya, first off, I got somebody for you for that. So okay. I'll reach out to you. So, hey, but yes, one of the things that I've done to create a banking relationship, Dr. Gigi nailed it on the head. You go out to lunch with them. Like even my banker at my branch, her husband actually became one of my patients. And she has now became a patient of mine. So you do establish a relationship with them in some form. If you go, just don't go through the tailor, you know, the outside, go inside. Go inside.
There you go.
When you go inside, they start seeing your faces often. They're going to start talking to you. And next thing you know, you're becoming friends. Like even during the holidays, I even bring cookies over there. And, you know, and take it there to my branch. So when the COVID-19 event occurred, I was like, I called them up directly and was like, look, help me. Now they unfortunately was not able to get me all the way through that back door like I needed to, but they definitely got it started. Right. And so I had to go through my merchant account to help with that, but luckily I had somebody there that helped me with that too. So right. you have to create those relationships, because these people have to become your friends, and believe it or not, they're gonna be needing you sometime down the road too.
There you go. And thank you. That's powerful. I mean, Dr. Gigi, somebody asked, you know, hey, I missed that. What is bail? Can you do a recap of that real quick?
Sure. Bail is having your team in order to keep you successful as a small business. And the B is for having a banker, A is having an accountant, I is for insurance, and L is for having a lawyer. And it's not just having these people where you can call them if you need something, it's having relationships with you so they know your business, they know about your personality. And so in times of need, it's no question. Right. And so, yeah, I will say this. So Dr. Latanya is going to give Latanya the information for her banker. But for any of you, if you just go into there's always offices when you go into the bank. Those are the people you want to talk with. If you go into one of those places and you offer to say, hey, I want to give you my business, but I'd love to go out and actually have lunch with you. If they say no, that's probably not the bank for you. I think more often than not with banking, it feels like they're off limits because they're in those offices, but other people know that that's how you create those relationships.
Right. That's good.
It's just really important. Yeah. Especially now. Yeah.
So, man, relationships, I hope you understand that's the theme. And so Robin said, leaving a legacy, empowering and equipping my children to do great things, positively impacting my community, having my own teeth. Right, that's good. When you're 95, I got it. And a waistline will make me smile. That's real talk. Yeah, Brother Potts, good to have you here. And Stan Grant, good to have you. And I just wanted to give a shout out. LaPronda said, hey, Dr. Latanya, I have a client for you. So again, that's just networking, right? That's what we're doing. So listen, I want to be committed. We're going to go ahead and say thank you. You don't have to go home, but you got to get the heck out of here, all right? Because we're bringing this to a close. On behalf of Commissioner Vilma Leake, Small Business Consortium, and the planning team, we want to say thank you. Time is our most precious commodity. And just post in the chat box as we conclude. You can just type in, did you enjoy? And what's your commitment? What did you enjoy the most about today's show? We love to see in the chat box. Stay blessed.